everybody. I'm Rick Dancer. Welcome to Get Real with Rick Dancer. We have an interesting show for you tonight. We're going to go back to my old stomping grounds. I was born and raised in Hillsboro, Oregon, and not far from there, my sister now lives just right outside of Banks, Oregon. Banks is a cool little town, far enough away from Portland that it doesn't have to be part of it, but you can get to Portland if you need to from there. Right near Forest Grove. I went to college at Pacific University in Forest Grove. So this is like where this is my growing up place. So I got some information from some folks and they'd heard about my show and said, we are having trouble getting enthusiasm, getting people going and getting the right information out on saving our high school in Banks. And I thought, you know what? The whole reason I started this show is to give people a voice that don't have a voice. And I went, yeah, we'll do it. So we are sponsored by Dental Eugene, Dr. Michael Bratland. He is an awesome dentist. If you don't have an appointment for next year, it's time to get one because he fills up real fast. If you're looking for a dentist who believes in people should have their own conversations, he is your man. All right, so let's get to the show. We have our two guests, and they're both coming to us live out of Banks, Oregon. Nina, and is it Ayla?
Ayla, yes, very nice.
Ayla. Well, I was a news guy. You had to learn how to pronounce names when you saw them. The only ones I never did was the Japanese and Chinese prime ministers. When it would come in with X, Y, L, O, C, I would just say, and the prime minister of Japan today said, and, and totally avoid the name. Mm-hmm. So I don't care, whichever one of you wants to start, tell people what is going on here. Because I think I read through your Facebook page and kind of some of the things going on. But when did this all start to save the high school?
Nina, why don't you jump in because you've been
right.
I'm going to put the high school up for a minute. You keep talking, Nina.
Let's start. Okay, yeah, it's been going on for actually a long time. So, but it came to a head last year when a school bond passed, and this school bond, it was not very clear. It just said that they're going to build a new high school. Nowhere in the school bond did it say that they're going to demolish the historic building, which was currently being used as district offices. In fact, nowhere in the bond did it say that they were going to build new district offices. If you went in and asked the school board, they probably would have told you, yes, we're probably going to demolish this. We probably need to demolish the historic building. But the general public was not aware of this. And so, the school bond passed, and next thing we know, we're told that, actually, I went and asked, does this mean that what's the situation with this historic building? And they said, oh yeah, it has to come down. And the narrative that's been going around for years, probably the last 20 years, is that the place is falling apart. We can't save it. It'd be way too much money, and it's going to cost $15 million, and it's a lost cause. We can't do this. When we moved here, that building it's Banks's only prominent historic landmark. I mean, Banks has it has a nice church down the road, but this is on Main Street. It was built the same year that Banks was incorporated, which was 1920. And it has such a rich history.
Well, everybody that went to school,
right,
in your town, Joe Heathen, is that right? I hope I'm saying that right. Somebody's on here. They said they tore down most of the beautiful old buildings in Banks.
Yes, we had and Ayla could talk a little bit more about that, about the Wilkes building. But this high school, it's been in Banks. It's been part of Banks. It defines Banks, the history. It's been this cultural, this social gathering place. So many old timers, their grandparents, their great grandparents went there. And it's not just socially significant. This building was designed by Turtelot and Hummel. These are the same architects that designed the Idaho State Capitol. And this is a time when these buildings are being built right around the early 1920s. These buildings, you can see the symmetry, the beauty. I mean, this is not just you slap it up. There is something really special about these buildings. And this is a great example. Our building is a great example of those, of the buildings built at that time period across Oregon. What's special, and the reason I know about this is we just today turned in the application for the nomination to have this building in the National Historic Registry. And this is an 80-page document. And
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and it's now up for public comment. So it's official, it's up there, it's out there. The sad thing is that if things go the way they're going to, probably go, and the way the leadership in our city wants it to go, it'll be torn down before it can be
So is that why you're getting it nominated? I mean, this is another way to try to save it.
It won't save it, because all they have to do is jump through their hoops and they can still tear it down.
Didn't the city, I was reading your page, and didn't the city in 1989 or so, I can't remember what the date was.
Yes. So it has been this building, back in the 80s or even before the 80s, the city council designated a historic overlay on this building property. And then it was recognized by the county and by the state as a historic resource. And just a couple years ago, in 2021, quietly, the city council, knowing they wanted this thing torn down, they went in there. I mean, and this historic overlay was reaffirmed again in, the early, in the 80s, well, hold on, just more recently, like it was 75, and then in the 80s, and then again in 2000, it's been reestablished as a city council as a historic overlay. And then just a couple years ago, they added some verbiage to that line saying, unless it's a public building. And that little bit of verbiage no longer protects it as a historic resource. And now, because the state can't do anything, the county can't do anything, because they deferred to the city, and because the city wants it down, they have been able, they paved the way so that they can get it down.
Okay, the city says it's $15 million to fix it up and restore it. Yeah. What do you had different numbers on Facebook? Either one of you can answer that.
Didn't say that. That is a couple individuals who want it down, and one of them is on the school board,
and I might add.
Right. And they keep spreading this narrative that the building is falling down, and that it's going to cost $15 million. This is in the school board. We've talked to the architect. We had the superintendent came back with a cost neutral option to fix that building up. And they were saying, at least they said, we were looking at the difference between renovating it and using the square footage in the building as opposed to tearing it down and building that same amount of square footage new, right? So our whole push was to incorporate this building into the new school campus and just renovate it and use part of the square footage that we need as part of that building. And so there was a cost neutral version to do that, but that never got put in front of the public. In fact, the day the school board voted to demolish, the school board had just gotten the cost neutral version option like 2 days before they voted. And so the public never heard about it. And the school board was like, well, we haven't really thought about this very long, so we're just gonna demolish. It was very sad, a sad day.
So Ayla, how are you involved with this?
Well, I'll tell you, Rick, I'm a chair of the CPO, which is a citizen participation organization out here in Banks. And we address things about livability, land use issues. And looking at significant natural resources. So I could back you up just briefly to Senate Bill 100, Tom McCall's bill, 1973. Everybody was thrilled about it because it was a plan to conserve the important beauties of Oregon and grow with common sense. If Tom McCall knew what our land use laws were doing to people these days, he would roll over in his grave. So you take this example, this building is the first Union High School in Washington County. Wouldn't you think the county would want to do something to preserve that? They could turn it into a museum, etc., do eminent domain. The school has 3 tax lots. They can do a property line adjustment and sell it. We went over a year, and Nina just busted her butt writing up proposals, trying to show a positive way forward. And there's one man on the school board that goes over and over, no, no, no. He wants it, and he wants it his way. And the bond is illegal. They never said what they were going to do. They led us on in these community meetings with little fairy dust, how it's all going to be great. They never showed that the old building had to come down until after they passed the bond. $50 million they got. And because we passed that bond as a school district, 5,000 voters, I might add, we got a $6 million kicker grant that was given to Banks School District. Now, wouldn't you think they could like split the difference and fix the building? We had a guy in town who wanted to, he said, I'll fix the building, I'll buy it, and I'll fix it, and we'll use it for something. He went in there with his own crew, labor and materials, 1.8 million to bring it to civil public use. Bada bing, bada boom. No 15 million, no all these fancy bloated numbers. Okay, so yeah, it's all a big joke. With 4 million, we can bring it to student use, which means classrooms and everything can be done in there. So this is real numbers. Everything else is a facade. The guys that are building the school, Brick is the name of the company, you know, they're so inflated with Portland numbers and liability and all the crap they add on. They're telling us now that if they change their mind, it would cost $2.5 million to change the blueprints.
Oh, more than that. More than that.
Yeah. Come on. So every time we argued a little bit with them, they changed how the school was going to be redone and moved the building blueprints over more and more and more into where the old building is, trying to justify that it has to come down and turn into a parking lot, Rick.
So do you, how does the
song should be playing?
Ayla, you see, now you said when we started this whole thing before we went on here, oh, Nina's going to do all the talking. You're spirited. Look at you.
Sorry, darling. I've been busting my ass too. The two of us have just, you know.
Why is this? Okay, so why? Why is this so important?
So, you know, there's something to be said for it. And I keep explaining this. I grew up in Europe, in Germany, and I look at the communities, they treasure their heritage. They celebrate it. It brings the community, it makes it stronger. When kids know their history, when we have, and I keep hearing people say, oh, buildings aren't important, it's the people. No, the buildings are what defines this community. That's what stays. That's what you see. When you go to a community that restores its historic buildings, that's what makes each community. Right. I mean, then you go down to Nashville, Carlton. These communities are beautiful.
You drive through it, and you feel like you're in another time. And we have people we have the old folks out in the hills that have no idea what's going on here. Here's the problem, Rick. We have no newspaper that gets thrown on your front door anymore. Communication has been cut down, and people are separated and divided now. So that's how the power stays in control. They don't want you to know stuff. You know, you couldn't find the questionnaire they had on this building in the website of the school to save your soul. And all of this is intentional manipulation of technology. And we got to break through. People like you have to make the difference, you know, using technology for the unheard. It's so awesome that you do that. And, you know, significant natural resource means our architecture, our art, you know, and our ancestors.
Well, look at, you drive through downtown Forest Grove and you see a cute little downtown that says this is Forest Grove. If you're going to take a picture in Forest Grove, Oregon, you know where you're going to do it.
Mhm.
Right.
You know, the same in downtown Hillsborough. The old theater's still there. You know,
Mhm.
all those that you know, and yes, there's a lot of modernization, but you have an area. Well,
You have a
Bank,
core. You have the heart.
I mean, you don't have
Heart.
any other
No,
historic building. This is like, you
this,
know, it's just bland. It's going to be bland banks. You
it's
know,
yeah.
This
I
is
think
this is
that
frustrating.
building is iconic, and it's literally the heart of our town. If you drive down Main Street, you're right. There's no other beautiful brick building that shouts, "This is Banks." I mean, that is Banks. That building defines us.
so
Yeah,
how do you?
it's a plot. There are people. There is a plot, my friend. They don't want you to remember who you were. They want you to depend on who is going to be paying your government subsidy house. And they want every town to have a Taco Bell, McDonald's, and Chipotle. And you won't know what town you're in. And you won't know where your house is either, because you're going to live in an 8-family stacked, condo on an acre in some town. And nobody's attached to anything anymore. And that's just the way they want the public. They want them vulnerable and government dependent, no individuality, no history that makes you feel strong and unique, no entrepreneurial anything. It's a bad deal. And,
I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean,
and
I
it's
think,
starting right here in little things like this.
well, and you guys are Banks is such a rural place. I mean, you're really, you know, I mean, you have, like I said at the beginning, you're not far from Portland, but you know, it's what, 40 minutes probably, you know?
We
Yeah.
used
Did
to
you
be
know about our growth? Do you know about our growth, right? That
Yeah,
we're about to triple in size. And so that's the other thing that's really frustrating about this is
the
that
one thing they could save was something old while they add all the new. That's all we were
right,
asking.
that's right. And I went at the beginning, I tried approaching the developers. I tried it like, can you at least, if you're gonna change this town and triple its size and turn it into something it's not, could you just invest in our heart, the core of this town, just to preserve the one building that defines this town? And what was so frustrating, is I finally got a hold of the developer, and I don't know if it's Weeks or Holt, one of them, and they were so hard to get a hold of. Got a hold of them, explained the thing. They said, "Oh, we might be able to give you at most 5,000." Then we found out that they turned around and gave 150,000 to the pet project of the people on the school board, which was the stadium. And
Oh, and
so,
don't forget the $2 million footbridge over the railroad tracks to get to the field for the school.
so
so
that was frustrating. That was just frustrating.
so do you guys feel like with all the new people moving into Banks that you're losing your soul?
Yes, but we would love, I mean, it's okay if they move in as long, it's so frustrating that neither the city nor the school district have any concern about saving the soul. That's the problem. It's the people in power they have determined that this building has to go. And it's crazy. What's crazy is that when I wrote my first Facebook page, I was driving by and said, somebody needs to stand up for that building. So I wrote this, I made a newsletter and posted it. I thought people would be like, yeah, you're right. Let's come together as a community, see what we can do to save this building. But for a couple of years, this narrative has been fostering or kind of building. And all of a sudden, these people were so angry. They pitched it right back at me. How could you say that? You're letting down you're hurting our children by putting the money that should go into a new school into an old building. And I was like, no, 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 no. This
But are
no.
those okay? But let me ask you, Nina, are those local people, like people that were born and raised in
Yeah,
Banks?
many of them
Yeah.
are.
Who they are,
Narrative.
Rick, who they are is the minority PTO folks, parents that are in the school, parents group, teachers, and people who follow this one man's narrative because he's Mr. Businessman of Banks. And he's quite frankly a bully. He has bullied the
No names,
president.
please.
No. Bullied
Yeah.
the president of the school board, bullied the school board themselves into voting his way. I mean, this is serious business. And when people take control like that because they have their fingers in so many other pies, they manage to get their way. And
Well,
so we're fighting that. But I'll tell you, the worst enemy of things like this is apathy, Rick.
Yeah. Oh, that's welcome to our world.
Yeah.
I think
I mean,
that's why Oregon is where it is right now, because
you know, I was
it's like Oregon is, and little towns like Banks have
Yeah.
lost their identity. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like you get enough, and I'm not, I moved into a small town here, and people, think, but my house was built. It wasn't like I built a new house, but I think small towns are really nervous about it. And, and we, if you don't know where you came from, how do you know where you're going?
Yeah, if you ask the kids on the campus if they know anything about that building, they can't tell you a thing. And so that's one problem. Secondly, if you do good planning, like the new mayor of Banks, she's amazing, and she wants to integrate the new housing with the old so that we actually communicate and pass by each other every day and interact in the market and whatnot. This building would have been a great civic building for us to do something like that. She's looking at roadways and pathways and equestrian trails, things like this that integrate us. That's what makes the difference, Rick. And I was out on Main Street in Banks with my tent up with another friend of mine. We got 1,000 signatures for the no transportation, no gas. 1,000
did
signatures.
you?
4 days, my friend, 4 days.
In Banks, Oregon.
Yes, on Main Street. We had people drive by and turn their trucks around and come in and sign. It was amazing. If only I could get that enthusiasm about this building. I need 600 signatures and I need them right now. And I wish those people would just come down. I'm on Main Street the next 2 weekends, open all day to come and sign. Hot chocolate, Costco dogs, just come and sign.
It's too bad, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, I don't know, but if it was really like say 4 million to make it usable, it's too bad they just didn't add that to the truthfully add that to the bond.
And they said that, they still, the bond isn't covering everything they need. And
That's
even
right.
if they had added it, they would have used it for something else. This narrative that the school was not salvageable was going on for like 10 years. I even heard it from everyone I asked. I said, well, are we going to save this school? Oh no, you can't save that school. Like it's too far gone. And the truth is, yes, it needs to be renovated, right? There's a part where the roof kind of, there's parts where the floor needs repair, but it's still standing strong. It's not.
If you had the right investor come in and make it into a civic center, or you can make apartments out of it.
Well, that the museum at PCC is no longer functioning. Our entire heritage collection of Washington County, the chair of commissioners wants to sell it off. We have no home for our entire museum collection. That building would have been a perfect opportunity. Okay. I've mentioned it to the commissioners. They just looked at me like I was nuts. They don't want to deal with it either. They don't want to pay for that. Can you imagine? So, I mean, this is attacking us on so many levels. People need to wake up and hear what's going on, because it's bad. It's bad.
It's frustrating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And these things are doable if you just have a little determination and work together. I need somebody to call Phil Knight and say, dude, we need some help right now, because they're tearing it down in January. Now that they see our petition is out, they are accelerating their timeline. They're going to tear it down in January. If we don't have our signatures by the end of December, we're probably screwed.
Yeah.
So the next step is you're going to be out there this weekend and next weekend.
And every other weekend.
Collecting signatures.
Yes, sir.
And Nina, you're trying like crazy to get this.
You know, I wish I could just share with everybody how important it is that we just hold on to our heritage and honor that heritage and recognize the generations of people that built our town. And like you said, like some of these like to hold on to the charm, the unique identity of a town. And when you raise all the buildings and bulldoze them all down and build the new stuff, it's not the same.
Don't you think that makes you lose your sense of community? And what you do
Yeah.
is you become a bedroom to Portland.
Right.
And Banks should have its own identity.
That's
And
right.
in this, the school to me would be a perfect place because everybody went there, I
Right.
mean, for generations. And, you're talking about Germany. My wife's family's from Germany. And I remember maybe 6 or 7 years ago, my two sons traced the relatives back, and their grandmother's last picture was taken in front of a castle in Würzburg.
Mhm.
And my sons met her other family and nieces and nephews and had their pictures all taken in front of that same castle.
Yeah,
And it
mine are from
that
this.
to us brought our family, that made my wife, she cried her eyes out because she's like, we are now, we're connected to this all the way around the world, this
I found
place
my family in Fusen, Germany.
because of that building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
every
then-
year people come back to Banks, and what are you going to take a picture of? The First National Bank?
and it won't even be the new school. Everyone's excited that we got a new, middle school. I mean, that's great, and the new grade school, but there's something special about the buildings of that era that are over 100 years old. There's a beauty in them that you do not get in the modern buildings.
Well, I doubt many people are going to drive into Banks, Oregon to take a picture of the new middle school.
No.
But if you had that building fixed up, the school, old building, and it was something cool, like, I don't know what. Somebody said my idea about the apartments is too expensive because you'd have to charge too much. But if you had some kind of center there and you went in and you go, everybody would be taking a picture of that.
If it was our museum, all the kids from the whole state would come and have field trip for Washington County Heritage Museum. The kids could go and have classrooms right there at the museum. Can you imagine that? Just walking.
Yeah.
I mean, there would be such an opportunity, and it would be revenue producing. And that school was built right when Benson High School was. But Mr. Benson, the philanthropist logger of this area, he rebuilt that school. And if you go to University of Portland, those buildings are even older than ours, and they're pristine. So it's not like it's not possible.
So who built the school, the high school?
Our high school was designed by Turtlette and Hummel.
No, the old one.
The old one. That's what I'm talking about. Turtlette and Hummel, they were the architects of the old school. They're the same people that designed the Idaho State Capitol and many other prominent buildings around. But there are beautiful, like St. Helens just renovated the John Gum building, which is very similar in architectural style to ours. And it became the city, the county seat. And it's beautiful. If you Google John Gum building, you'll be blown away by how beauty. And here's this frustrating part about all this is that, we put out these posts, let's renovate. And people are like, I don't want my kids going to a dilapidated building. I was like, where did you miss where we said renovate? We're talking pristine, beautiful, renovated historic building. We're not saying send the kids into it in a dilapidated building. So
and we're probably going to come down on the school board the second Monday of January, and we hope to fill the room with 100 people. Now, this petition we're signing is not saying yes or no to save the building. It is a petition to ask for the right to vote. We want the school district to send out a ballot to all 5,000 voters and say, do you want to demolish this or not? And everybody can do their own ballot. And let's get a response from everybody, because our elders and lots of people that don't have kids down there anymore don't even know what's going on, Rick.
Well, I wouldn't tell the idea about voting on it to Tina Kotek. She's not real open to that kind of thing. You got to take every stab you get. You know what I mean? You got to take every stab
Kotax,
you
isn't it? Kotax? Kotax. Yeah, I know her.
Now I know you. I got your number, Ayla.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I was with the first log truck convoy around Salem, my friend.
She's a badass. She's a badass.
Yeah. And I'm running for commissioner in Washington County, by the way.
District 4. Are?
Yes, the rural voice, the only rural voice that's standing up.
I remember when I was growing up, Hillsborough was 30,000 people.
Yeah, that's my problem. Half of my people that vote in my district live in Hillsborough now, and the rest of them all live out in the country, in the woods.
And you know what the city council in Hillsborough just did? Declared a state of emergency.
Oh, I was there. I was there listening to 3 hours.
I'm sure you were. I know who my new gadfly in Washington County is. I can.
We're hooked up, my friend.
Nina, I see why you hang out with this lady. You two are trouble.
Yeah.
So,
she's
a one.
Well, you know what? I love to see your activity, and you're doing it. And I hope that this works. And keep doing you're doing, and let me know if it comes down to they're going to tear it down, because I'd love to get some. If you guys are up there and there's people outside doing anything, we could just keep in touch with me. Okay.
Well, when they tore down the 150-year-old Wilkes house, I was standing next to the excavator ready to get in the bucket. If I wasn't 73, I probably would have. But the cop escorted me off the property, and they tore down that 150-year-old house in 5 minutes, Rick. And a month ago, they cut down the 100-year-old sequoia trees that were on that property as well. They've devastated everything here. I mean, we are weeping, Rick, weeping.
Well,
this is not funny.
I thank you for letting me, expose this to people and let them see it. Share it on your pages, everybody. So people, and if you're in banks, share it on your bank's pages, because you never know who has internet and who's going to pull this up and say, wait a minute, I didn't know that was happening. And that's the only way to get the word out for people.
If somebody wants to send us some funds, we would receive them gladly to fight this some more, but it's going to be legal fight.
All right. Thank you, guys. Ayla and Nina, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I appreciate you. I love seeing Oregonians active. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, vote Ayla May 1st.
Okay. All right, you guys. So, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, not that what's happening, just that you have to stand up for what you believe in, and you can't let apathy. I always said when I was a news guy, I'd watch what happened in elections and stuff. And, because in 1987, I was a news guy, and Vicatia was the last Republican. And I'm not a big Joe Republican, but when you have 40 years of one party rule, that's not good. I wouldn't want a 40-year rule of just Republicans either. But you have to start looking at stuff. And I used to say, God, people in Oregon, and I'm an Oregonian. I mean, I am. We're so apathetic. It's just like, oh, I've got things to do. Well, civic life is part of living in a town. In old Jewish culture, you didn't have, everything's an action word. You can't love without being active. You can't just say, oh, I love you. You have to show love. You can't be in a community if you don't do anything. If you sit around and don't do anything and don't participate, you're not really part of the community. You're like dead wood. And we need more people that are going to come alive and do something. Maybe this isn't going to work, but you know what? They tried. And at least when that thing goes down, if it does, what if it gets saved? Then they get to go, yes, we saved a piece of history in Banks, the last little piece of history in Banks, Oregon. So in their great grandchildren will walk in and go, my grandma's had something to do with this. I mean, that's what we need to live outside of ourselves, and not just for what, the next vacation we're going to take. There's other things. So if there's any way you can help them, share this on your page, because you never know. I didn't know they were watching me when I live in Montana and I'm from Eugene. I didn't know them before this. The internet is a magic machine. And you know what it is? I know there's a lot of things people complain about, but you know what? The hate mail I get, I know it's having an impact. People do not want these conversations had. They want them hidden. They've gotten rid of most of the little small newspapers. The TV stations are a bunch of bullshit. They don't cover anything. So it's up to us, we the people. It always has been, actually. Did you know that? Yeah, the Constitution doesn't say we the legislature. It doesn't say we the bank city council. It doesn't say we the bank school board. It doesn't say we the Eugene 4J. It says we the people. So if it's about us, then why don't we take it back? I don't know. That's the question you get to leave with yourself. All right. It is. I will be back, I think, Monday. I think I'm going to be here Monday. I'm shooting a special story on this rock crunchers out of Oregon. They're coming to all play. How's this for random? A guy I know works for a company in Oregon. They go into fields and they grind up 12-inch rocks into fields for farmers because they're a pain in the ass, and they can go in there with these big tractors. So they've hired me. They're working in Montana, like 2 hours from my house. So they said, would you come down and tell the story with these farmers and stuff? And I went, yeah. So they're hiring me to come shoot a story in Montana about Oregon. You just never know what's going to happen, do you? So anyway, that's my life. I get to do fun stuff like that. So I don't know if we might not have too many shows in the beginning of next week, but I'll still have content on. And then the week of Christmas, I'm taking it off, because if you guys are sitting around watching me on TV, there's something wrong with you. You need to be with your families and doing stuff. You should not be watching this. But we'll still have stuff on there to irritate, those people that come after me all the time. I had a lot of them today. Yeah. Did you know that I'm a bait clicker? Yeah. Oh, I mean, clickbaiter. I can't even say it right. Yeah. They say I'm a clickbaiter. And then I had somebody tell me, you just write really well because you're trying to get people to read what you write. And I'm like, well, isn't that the point, dumbass? Why would I write something that I'd write something poorly so no one would read it? I said, I don't know. What do you do with that? When somebody says that to you, what do you do? Yes. Okay, then I'm a clickbaiter. I'm writing to try to get people to watch what I'm writing so that they will open up their minds and start doing something. Yeah, I'm guilty. And guess what? All the people that say that about me don't agree with me. So what are they trying to do? Shut us down. And what does that do for me? It turns up my volume. So turn up your volume, help bank save its high school, the old one, the one that has some history, and you guys can be part of change. I love that. Have a good night. Have a good weekend too. We'll see you next week sometime. Bye, guys.